Don't scroll away, because what this young boy did in front of his nation's president will absolutely leave you speechless. In a small, forgotten town lived a 15-year-old boy named Daniel. He was born into the kind of poverty that most of us can only imagine: torn clothes, bare feet, and a loving mother who struggled every single day just to put a small meal on the table. But Daniel possessed something that no amount of hardship could ever take from him: his voice. He held a powerful belief that the truth wasn't just a luxury for the powerful, it belonged to everyone. Every morning, like clockwork, he would stand in the dusty village square. He wouldn't beg for money, he would speak. He talked about justice, about what true leadership should look like, and about the desperate need for change. Most people just walked by, laughing at him. Who are you to talk about presidents? They'd mock. You can't even afford a decent meal, but their ridicule never silenced him. Daniel refused to stop. He believed his words mattered. Then, one day, something extraordinary happened. The nation's president announced a visit to Daniel's very own village. It was a massive event. The streets were swept spotless for the first time in years. Soldiers in pristine uniforms lined the roads, and a sea of cameras surrounded the specially built stage. The president began his grand speech, listing his supposed achievements, painting a picture of a thriving nation that Daniel and his neighbors simply didn't recognize. As the applause echoed, Daniel saw his chance. Pushing his way through the thick crowd, he summoned every ounce of courage he had and shouted, "You promised us schools. You promised us electricity. But we are still living in darkness." The entire crowd froze. A collective gasp rippled through the air. The president's security detail immediately rushed toward Daniel, their faces grim. Everyone held their breath, expecting the worst. They thought he would be dragged away, arrested, or even worse. But instead of shrinking back in fear, Daniel's voice grew even louder, ringing with conviction. "If speaking the truth makes me a criminal," he cried out, "then every child here deserves to be found guilty." The silence that followed was deafening. It was heavier than any sound. The president, visibly shocked by this young boy's raw courage, slowly raised his hand, signaling his soldiers to stop. He descended from the stage and walked toward Daniel, the cameras following his every move. Looking the boy in the eye, he asked, "What is your name, young man?" "Daniel," he replied, his body trembling but his gaze steady. Then, in a move that stunned the entire nation, the president took the microphone from his own podium and handed it to the boy. "Then speak, Daniel," he said, his voice carrying across the silent square. "Let the nation hear you." Daniel took a deep, shaky breath. For the next 3 minutes, he spoke. He didn't speak of anger or resentment. He spoke of hope. He spoke of the dreams of his friends, the desperate need for education, and the simple, profound change that a single light bulb could bring to a family. He spoke from the heart, and the entire country listened. The video of that moment went viral. It spread like wildfire from the biggest cities to the most remote villages, and the change wasn't just online. Within a single month, trucks filled with supplies arrived in Daniel's village. Construction began on new classrooms, and for the first time, light bulbs flickered to life, cutting through the darkness. Daniel's single, courageous voice became the spark that awakened an entire generation. His story is a powerful reminder to never, ever underestimate the power you hold. True courage doesn't come from wealth or a fancy title. It comes from a heart that refuses to stay silent in the face of injustice. Even the smallest voice can shake the mightiest throne. If Daniel's story inspired you, please don't just scroll on. Share this video to remind someone else that their voice matters. Hit that like button, subscribe for more stories that matter, and comment "I believe in courage" down below if you promise to never let fear silence your truth. Thank you for watching.